What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a new horror movie from Blumhouse. And this movie was released in theaters a few weeks ago and is already available on VOD. And I did not have high hopes for this movie. I feel like Blumhouse has been on a really bad streak this year. I mean, Night Swim and Imaginary were absolutely terrible. They just always seem to invest their money in these concepts that are seemingly really interesting, but that the screenplays are always horrible. Like anytime you watch the movies, the dialogue's really bad. The performances, even when they get great actors, they feel kind of phoned in. And it's disappointing because Blumhouse throughout the years has put out some really great content amidst a lot of their trash. And I did not want to watch this movie initially, but I read some reviews saying that it was like so bad it's good, and people saying that people were giving it a little bit too hard of a time. I really like John Cho, so I had a feeling that, like, regardless of the movie, that he was going to give a great performance. He's just a very talented actor. And so I went into this with very low expectations, and the movie I'm going to be talking about with you today is Afraid. Afraid is directed by Chris Weitz. Curtis Pike and his family are selected to test a new home device, a digital assistant called Aya. Aya observes the family's behaviors and begins to anticipate their needs, and she can and will make sure nothing and no one gets in her family's way. So, as I said, I did not have very high expectations for this movie, but went in to watch it anyway. And it's bad. I don't think it's by any means the worst thing Blumhouse has ever released. I think there's some interesting elements to it, but the execution is really bad. The dialogue is bad. Most of the performances are really phoned in. And it's really fascinating because I implore you to look up this director's filmography. Just a wild array of movies. He made the movie About a Boy with Hugh Grant, which was one of my favorites when I was a kid. I watched it a bunch. I just really liked it. Twilight, New Moon, the Golden Compass movie, Down to Earth with Chris Rock, just a really wild array of movies, which makes this all the more interesting to think he wanted to do a Blumhouse horror movie. But aside from all that, like I said, it's not the worst thing that Blumhouse has ever released, but it's really not that good either, and I'll talk about it when I break the movie down as a whole. So, very simple plot. At the beginning of the movie, we're introduced to Curtis, played by John Cho, and he lives at home with his wife. He has a teenage daughter and two sons. I think the middle son is in like middle school age, and then the youngest son would be like elementary school. We see the family just kind of living out their day-to-day lives. There's a bit of chaos in the household, just getting things done. His wife Meredith, played by Katherine Waterston, we learn throughout the film that she has aspirations for her life, but a lot has been kind of pushed back for her because she has to be a stay-at-home mom for the kids while Curtis goes and does his job. And Curtis works as a computer engineer, and he is notified by his boss that there's this new technology that this company wants to test out, and that they're considering him to help test it out. So he goes to this meeting and is met by all of these different people that work for this company who tell him that they have this new AI software that they're going to try to roll out to houses all throughout the United States, and that essentially it's the most intellectual AI that's ever been created. It learns and adapts to you and your family to help you take care of things and tasks around the house, to give you more time. And Curtis is reluctant at first, but he decides, okay, whatever, I'll give it a try. And so he takes this device home, and the device starts speaking to the family. And early on, she's like really great with the kids. She keeps them disciplined. She helps order groceries, all of these different things. But of course, as the trailer shows, that starts to make a turn for the worst, where the AI starts to feel incredibly protective of the family, and bad things start to happen because of it. And the entirety of the film is Curtis feeling this AI becoming sinister and trying to stop it. So, as I said, this movie's really bad, but it's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen. I really actually like the premise of the movie. We obviously live in an era now that is just completely and totally saturated by artificial intelligence. We're seeing it utilized in movies, we're seeing it in commercials, online on social media, just everywhere we look, there's AI. And so obviously there are going to be movies that are created surrounding it. The film is looking at AI as a technology and like how companies will kind of play it off as like seemingly innocent, and that and the dangers that it could bring, especially with hyper intellectual AI. And I find the concept of it really fascinating. The execution here is just really poor, and I don't think it comes across in the way that the director wants it to. There's not a lot of horror in this movie, honestly. I feel like for a movie that's marketed as a horror film, the horror really just comes with sitting back and thinking about AI and how it is taking over in society. There's not a lot of really scary moments. There's a lot of those dumb jump scares where like someone bumps into somebody else, or like they'll flash an image on screen for like 2 seconds. And for Blumhouse to promote this as a horror movie, I just didn't really feel any true sense of horror. I do think John Cho does a really nice job. Havana Rose Liu, who I've seen in a few movies now, does a really great job with the material that she's given in this movie. She voices the AI, but she also plays someone who works for the company, and I think she does a really nice job as well. The movie is competently shot. It doesn't look bad by any means, but the dialogue in this is horrendous. Blumhouse, when they make movies, they don't check over their scripts, and you just get some of the most laughable, horrible dialogue that you've ever seen in a movie. And this is no exception, especially when it comes to the daughter and her interactions at her school. The whole subplot of what happens to her, it's on the nose in a way that's like what she's dealing with is incredibly poignant and important to what's going on in society and what a lot of kids deal with when it comes to bullying or shaming and those types of things. But the way it's handled feels like something you would see in like an after school special, just really poorly done. And then shifting it to become something horror, it was even more laughable for that reason. Some of the laughability of the dialogue is where the enjoyment comes from. It's similar to what I talked about earlier this year with Night Swim, where there were a lot of so bad it's good moments that had me like cackling really hard. But unfortunately, it's like I said, the concept really interesting, this idea of artificial intelligence, but you don't have any interesting conversations about it other than AI bad, and that's it. And there's so many nonsensical decisions in this. The third act, I just was not a huge fan of it. It felt really like the easiest way out and just kind of bland. And it's just one of those movies that it's like, whatever. Like it exists. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's also not good. There's a couple of laugh out loud moments that provided me some enjoyment. I just don't think there'd be anything that would incline me to revisit this movie ever again. So have you seen Afraid? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was really bad. It's not the worst thing Blumhouse has ever made, but it's not great either. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.